Raider Nation, get ready, because we've got something big to talk about today. The Las Vegas Raiders hold the 6th overall pick, and that means one thing: a golden chance to find a future star. The big question is, who should the Raiders draft? We're not just looking at one position, we're looking at it all: quarterbacks, wide receivers, offensive and defensive linemen, and yes, even corners. The goal? To find the player who fits perfectly into the silver and black future. But before we jump into the latest draft talk, before listening to the latest news, subscribe to the channel, like it, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Let's move on to the new news. Let's kick things off with a name that's had fans and experts going back and forth: quarterback Shedeur Sanders. At first, he looked like a top pick. His early performances made people think he might be the next big thing. But over time, doubts started to rise. One major concern: his decision-making speed. When things get fast on the field, he sometimes takes too long to make a play, and in the NFL, that can be costly. Sure, he's not the slowest processor we've seen. He's ahead of where young Lamar Jackson or even Justin Fields were early on, but he still needs work. If the Raiders draft Shedeur, they would need to give him time to learn, to grow, and to adjust to the NFL. He's not ready to lead right away, but with the right coaching and patience, he could become a solid quarterback. Still, with Geno Smith already on the roster, the question is, do the Raiders want to wait? So, let's be honest, taking a quarterback with the 6th pick might not be the smartest move for the Raiders right now. Here's why. If the Raiders start winning this season and make the playoffs, next year's draft pick won't be so high. It could drop to somewhere in the 20s, maybe pick 23 or 24. So this might be the last time in a while we get such a valuable pick. Still, when it comes to quarterbacks, Shedeur Sanders is probably the only name seriously in the mix at number 6. Other rising names like Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe are getting attention, but honestly, they don't feel like first-round locks just yet. Even Tyler Shough has gained some momentum, but again, not someone you take this early. Outside of Sanders, it's hard to see another quarterback worth the 6th pick. Maybe 1 or 2 QBs go in the first round, but a third? That would be surprising. Now, let's shift gears a bit. What about running backs? A name getting a lot of buzz among Raider fans is Ashton Jeanty. Around 70% of fans I've talked to seem to be saying the same thing. He should be our guy. They believe he's a special talent, some even calling him generational. But hold on, let's look at that word, generational. What does it really mean? To answer that, we can look at past examples. Take Bijan Robinson, for instance. He had insane quickness, the kind of agility that made defenders miss instantly. If the defense closed the right side, he could stop on a dime, spin, and burst left like it was nothing. That kind of stop-start speed is rare, like 1 in 100 rare. Plus, Bijan had elite vision, spotting holes before they even opened. That's what made him truly different. Raiders fans have already seen this kind of vision in Josh Jacobs. He's known for finding those gaps and making smart runs. So, before calling anyone generational, it's important to break down what that really means. Jeanty might be talented, but does he have that same rare skill set? When people talk about top-tier running backs, they usually mention things like vision. And yes, vision is important, but it's not what separates the great from the elite. What really makes a running back special is how he moves, his balance, burst, and ability to change direction in a flash. Think about Saquon Barkley when he came out of Penn State. People didn't just admire his stats, they said, he moves like nobody else. That's why he was picked so early in the draft. Same with Bijan Robinson, another top 10 pick. These players have something rare, that explosive, stop-start motion that defenders just can't keep up with. Now, here comes Ashton Jeanty, the next running back with that it factor. No doubt he's exciting. He's strong, quick, and has that same kind of rare movement that catches everyone's eye. But let's pause and ask a tough question. Should the Raiders use the 6th pick on a running back? Here's the problem. Having a great running back doesn't always lead to winning games. When Saquon Barkley joined the Giants, their offense didn't magically become unstoppable. He had amazing talent, but he didn't have a strong offensive line. The same story played out for Bijan Robinson in Atlanta. He ran behind one of the best O-lines in the league, and the Falcons still struggled to win. So now we ask, even if Jeanty is the next superstar, can the Raiders really take him at number 6? Honestly, he wouldn't be my first choice. In fact, there are at least 8 other players I'd pick ahead of him. That's not because Jeanty isn't great, it's because running backs don't carry the same value anymore. For example, if he gets 300 carries and averages 4.8 yards per run, and another back, say Tre'Veyon Henderson, gets 300 carries and averages 4.5 yards, the difference isn't massive. The big difference? One guy could be taken at pick 6 and the other could still be available at pick 38. That's a huge gap in draft value. Also, let's be real, the Raiders' offensive line isn't close to elite. We're probably more similar to the Giants than to the Eagles right now. And trust me, the Eagles' offensive line is on another level. Their success didn't just come from talent, it came from legendary coaching too. So, when you look at it that way, maybe the Raiders should build their line first. Then go after a star running back. Let's talk about something that often gets ignored, but is absolutely critical for the Raiders: the offensive line. You see, the Eagles have something special. Their offensive line doesn't just survive, it dominates. Why? Because they have an elite coach who can turn unknown players into stars. Look at Jordan Mailata, a 6th-round pick who became one of the best left tackles in football. Or Landon Dickerson, who became an All-Pro left guard. They even found a replacement for a Hall of Famer like Jason Kelce. That's how deep and smart their system is. But here's the reality. The Raiders don't have that luxury right now. We can dream about drafting a flashy running back like Ashton Jeanty, but unless we build a strong wall in front of him, we won't get very far. Even great backs like Saquon Barkley struggled when their offensive lines couldn't hold up. Imagine Barkley trying to run behind a weak O-line. He'd be just as frustrated as any average player. So, Raider Nation, let's be real. Without a solid offensive line, we're not winning anything, no matter how talented our running back is. We're placing a lot of hope on guys like DJ Glaze, Alex Kappa, and Dylan Parham. But if they don't take a big step forward, the entire offense could suffer, and it's not fair to expect a rookie running back to carry that weight on his own. That's why drafting Jeanty at number 6, while tempting, is risky business. And when people bring up other backs like Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, sure, he might be a top 10 talent, and some team could roll the dice on him. But the Raiders shouldn't be that team at pick 6. We've got bigger priorities, like fixing the trenches. Now let's shift gears and talk about a position that actually makes sense at number 6, wide receiver. This year's draft class is full of exciting wideouts, and the Raiders are definitely in the market. The big mystery? How new general manager John Spytek is going to approach the board. Some fans are trying to predict what he'll do by looking at his time with Tampa Bay, but let's be clear, this is his first shot at running the draft. So whatever happens next is completely new, and that makes it even more exciting. John Spytek is stepping into uncharted territory, and all eyes are on him. He's always been behind the scenes, serving as an assistant general manager. But now, as the Raiders' top decision-maker, everything he does is under the spotlight. This time, every draft pick counts, and every miss could define his legacy. For the first time in his career, the pressure is real, because if a pick goes wrong, it's his name on the line. So, what kind of strategy will Spytek use with the 6th overall pick? Will he chase the best player available, or will he draft based on team needs? The answer is probably somewhere in between. You can't ignore talent, but you also can't ignore holes on the roster. Now let's talk about one of the most exciting prospects in the entire draft, Travis Hunter. Some outlets list him as a cornerback, but let's be honest, this guy is an offensive weapon. He's not just a corner. He's not even just a wide receiver. He's a game changer. The moment the ball touches his hands, He's electric. Think Jamar Chase. That same explosive energy. That same ability to take a screen pass and torch the defense. If Travis Hunter is still on the board when the Raiders are up, that card should be sent in without hesitation. But if he's already taken, the Raiders still have options, especially if they're leaning toward filling a need. Take Titeroa McMillan, for example. Some scouts rank him as the second-best receiver in this draft. For me, he's the third, but still a worthy choice at number 6. The guy is a pure playmaker, and the Raiders desperately need more of those. Right now, Brock Bowers and Jakobi Meyers are the two most reliable targets in the passing game, but there's a difference between consistency and explosiveness. Bowers can take a short pass and fly 50 yards. That's rare. Jakobi Meyers, on the other hand, is a steady possession receiver. He wins with toughness and technique, but he's not the kind of player who flips the field in an instant. That's why the Raiders should seriously consider adding a spark at wide receiver, someone who can change the game on one play. Because let's face it, you need more than safe passes and first downs to win in today's NFL. You need someone who scares defenses every time they touch the ball. And that's what this draft could deliver, if the Raiders make the right move. Jakobi Meyers is reliable, but let's not confuse that with explosive. He'll win the tough battles. He'll make defenders miss. But once the ball's in his hands, he's not outrunning anyone. He's not that spark plug who turns a simple play into a game-breaking moment, and that's what the Raiders are missing. Electric playmakers. They need someone who can stretch the field, shake defenders, and flip the script in one play. That's why names like Titeroa McMillan stand out. Sure, he might not have track star speed, but he's built for the NFL, 6 feet 3.5 inches with ridiculous length. Throw it near him and he'll haul it in. Contested catches, that's his specialty. Back corner fades, he owns them. McMillan might not put up 1,500 yards, but he's a consistent chain mover who adds a serious red zone threat. Picture him lined up as the X receiver, with Brock Bowers and Jakobi Meyers underneath. That's a scary trio for defenses. Of course, there's also Travis Hunter, a more compact, shifty weapon. Smaller in size, but just as dangerous. He brings that pop, the type of player who can make a difference from day one. But don't sleep on a name many haven't talked about enough, Kyle Williams. He's flying under the radar, but not because of talent. He played at Washington State, and some scouts question whether his skills will translate against NFL-level defenses. But if you actually watch the tape, it's clear this guy can move. He's smooth, he creates separation with ease, and when he gets the ball, boom, he's gone. Some draft boards don't even have Kyle Williams in the top 32. But don't be fooled. If you're only trusting national analysts, you'll miss out. This guy has a first-round talent written all over him, and he's the type of playmaker the Raiders should take a serious look at. He might not come from a powerhouse like LSU or Ohio State, but raw ability speaks louder than any jersey logo. And if the Raiders trust what they see on film, they might just steal a star while everyone else is sleeping. Every draft has surprises, and this year, the Las Vegas Raiders could be the ones flipping the script at pick number 6. Forget the rankings. Forget what the mock draft sites say. None of that matters in real NFL war rooms. What really matters? Finding the guy who can change the game. And one name that keeps coming up? Kyle Williams. Sure, he didn't face the same competition as players from powerhouse schools, but when you watch his tape, it's clear. This guy is explosive. He's quick, shifty, and knows how to get open. If the Raiders want someone who can light up defenses, Williams is absolutely worth considering at number 6. He's not alone. The wide receiver class is deep and full of weapons the Raiders could target. Luther Burden. He's built like a top 10 pick. Strong, fast, and tough to bring down. Some folks might say it's a reach, but NFL teams don't care about internet rankings. They care about playmakers, and Burden looks like one. Then there's Matthew Golden and Emeka Egbuka. Both bring a different kind of spark. Smooth route runners, smart in space, and dangerous after the catch. If Travis Hunter and Titeroa McMillan are off the board early, don't be shocked if the Raiders go bold and grab one of these guys. And while some fans would scream, "Reach!" the Raiders might just see a star. Now, as much as the conversation has been about receivers, don't sleep on the offensive line. Protecting the quarterback is still the foundation for everything. And this year's tackle class? It's unpredictable. There's no clear number, one offensive tackle. But one name that's gaining serious momentum is Armand Mao. He's got the size, he's got the power, and, most importantly, he's got those 34-inch arms that scouts love in elite tackles. You can't coach that kind of length. The Raiders could easily pivot from wide receiver and shore up the offensive line with a guy like Mao. With so much uncertainty at tackle, locking down a physical beast like him might be the smartest play of all. If the Las Vegas Raiders are serious about fixing their offensive line, there's one name they must consider: Armand Mao. He's big, he's powerful, and more importantly, he's NFL ready from day one. While other offensive linemen in this draft carry question marks, Mao brings solid tape and serious upside. At pick number 6, he could be the safest and smartest move for the Raiders. Now, let's talk about the rest of the offensive line class. Not all highly rated linemen are worth a top pick. Will Campbell, for example, might look good on paper, but many scouts believe he's more suited to play guard at the next level, not tackle. That's a problem when you're picking at 6. The Raiders don't need to reach for a guard this early, especially when interior linemen can be found in later rounds and still turn into stars. Just look around the league. Plenty of elite guards were found in rounds 3, 4, and even 5. Spending a top 10 pick on one just doesn't add up for a team that needs immediate impact. Then there are names like Josh Simmons and Josh Conerly, tackles with upside but a lot of development still needed. Simmons, who tore his ACL, was once viewed as a potential top talent, but the injury makes him a gamble. You're not drafting him for what he is now, you're drafting him for what he might become. Same with Conerly. He moves well, shows promise, but he's still learning the position. Drafting him high means betting on growth, not grabbing a guaranteed starter. Another interesting name is Kelvin Banks. Some think he could stick at tackle, others believe he's better off inside. Either way, he's not the kind of sure thing the Raiders should take in the first round. That's what makes Armand Mao so valuable. While other linemen come with ifs and maybes, Mao brings stability. He's strong in pass protection, fierce in run blocking, and has the rare combination of length and footwork that coaches love. The Raiders need protection up front, and Mao offers just that. No guesswork required. In a draft class full of projects, Mao stands out as plug-and-play. The Las Vegas Raiders have their work cut out for them if they want to secure a standout offensive tackle. Arante Ursi, for example, shows promise in his tape, but there's a major issue. He's not quick enough. In the NFL, speed is crucial for offensive tackles. Week in, week out, you're facing some of the most explosive defensive players, like Micah Parsons. If you can't move well, you'll struggle to keep up. That's why the Raiders need to focus on players who can handle both speed and power. Wyatt Milliam, for example, just doesn't have the movement skills needed to compete against the best of the best. Kelvin Banks and Josh Conerly are in a similar boat. Both have potential, but their ability to handle powerful defensive ends at the next level is uncertain. The offensive tackle class this year is full of question marks, but there are still some players who stand out. One of them is Ozzy Trapillo. He may not be getting as much attention as some other prospects, but there's real potential there. Another name that could surprise? Anthony Belton. At 6 feet 5 inches and with impressive arm length, 34.5 inches, Belton has the physical traits needed for a tackle. Though some experts project him as a guard, he could definitely play tackle in the NFL. He's a powerful, physical player with a lot of upside. If Armand Mao is off the board by pick number 6, Belton could be a smart choice for the Raiders, though it might feel a bit early for him. There's no question that Mason Graham won't be the Raiders' answer at offensive tackle. While he's a fantastic run defender, his lack of pass-rushing technique limits his potential. For the Raiders to succeed, they need someone who can handle all aspects of offensive line play. Someone who can protect the quarterback, not just block for the run. When it comes to Mason Graham, the Raiders have to be cautious. He's a solid run defender, but his pass rush upside isn't what the Raiders need, especially with the 6th overall pick. To put it bluntly, he doesn't have the explosive movement or the technique that top-tier defensive tackles like Jalen Carter possess. While Graham's run defense is impressive, his lack of pass rush development means he's not on the same level as elite prospects. Now, I wouldn't be too upset if the Raiders selected him, but it would feel like a missed opportunity to take a player with a higher ceiling. If they were to go with a defensive tackle, Walter Nolen might be a more compelling option. Nolen has the kind of quick, twitchy movement that Jalen Carter displayed in college. While his pass rush technique isn't quite at Carter's level, his initial burst off the line is something special. Walter Nolen is a player who could go before Graham and might even be a top 15 pick in this draft. Other defensive tackle prospects like Kenneth Grant and Derek Harmon are intriguing, but are more second-round caliber players. They're not worth the 6th pick, but they could develop into strong NFL players down the road. Looking at the edge rusher position, Jalen Walker has a lot of hype surrounding him. But the question remains, is he a true edge rusher, or is he more of a linebacker? He's quick and athletic, but he spent a significant amount of time at linebacker at Georgia. The Raiders need an edge rusher who can consistently put pressure on the quarterback. When it comes to the edge rusher position, I wouldn't take one with the 6th overall pick unless a prospect truly stands out. Mike Green and James Pierce both have traits that could make them a fit, but there are concerns off the field. Green has had some legal issues, and while I'm not entirely sure of the details, those are serious red flags. Pierce, on the other hand, has elite twitchiness and movement, but his anger management problems raise questions about his ability to handle the pressure of the NFL. If these two players had solid character, they could be top choices, but I'm hesitant to take a risk with the 6th pick. That said, I still think both will land somewhere between picks 15 and 32. And beyond that, I'm not sure an edge rusher fits the Raiders' needs right now. The 2nd round could hold some interesting options, and I'd be open to exploring that route instead. As for the cornerback position, I see some intriguing prospects like Will Johnson and J.D. Barron. These guys could be considered for the 6th pick, but cornerbacks tend to be a system position, and I'm not convinced these players are worth that high of a selection. Siobhan, Rebel Jr., and Benjamin Morrison could both be great finds in the 2nd round. Rebel Jr. might even be available after his injury last season, and Morrison, who was once projected as a top 15 pick, could also slip. Both have potential to be impact players. Now, I know some might argue for taking a corner earlier, but I'd be inclined to wait and grab one later in the draft if I'm the Raiders. It's a position you can often find quality players for in the 2nd round. As for Travis Hunter, I'm a huge fan. He's probably my #1 player on the board this year, and as a wide receiver, he's a game changer. His skill set sets him apart from others.